Hello, this is Todd Luck, and since the fourth and final issue of Masters Universe Revolution is out, I'm going to take a look at the whole mini-series. I've already done reviews of the first couple issues, so I'm going to try not to be redundant with that, but we're going to review the whole series here, and we're going to start with the reasons why you might want to pick this mini-series up. First of all, the covers. If you like the covers, you might want to pick this up so you can own them or display them. If these covers are worth $4 a pop for you, this is worth getting. Reason number two, if you like good artwork, Daniel HDR hits it out of the ballpark on the interior artwork. All the interior artwork you're going to see in this video is going to be by him unless I note otherwise, and I certainly hope that this is not the last time he does a Masters of the Universe comic. And lastly, this is a direct tie-in to the current animated series for Masters of the Universe, Revelation/Revolution, and this is filling in some of that new backstory we saw for Skeletor now that they've written off his previous origin in that animated series as just false memories. So this is how Keldor became Hordak's apprentice and ultimately became Skeletor. So if you've seen that animated series and you're interested in that, you might want to pick this up. If you haven't watched that animated series and have no intention to, this story probably isn't going to mean a whole lot to you. And so what did I think of this miniseries? Well, it is unfortunately one long explanation of a retcon, but they do try to spice it up at the beginning. The first issue has this invasion of Anwat Gar on Eternia, and it shows us more of the Horde than we got to see in the animation, and it looked really cool, and it was kind of exciting. The second issue actually opens with another fun scene where the Horde invades a planet called Zelkron that has these crystal people in it, which I thought was really cool. Thank you to everyone who pointed out that this planet is actually a reference to a Brazilian comic from back in the 80s. But my point I was trying to make in my review of the second issue was that I was really jazzed because it appears to be a tribute to Crystar, and I assume that's probably the case since this issue came out several years after Crystar. This is the cover for it, of course, and here's a shot from the interior. But I just thought that that was really cool because I'd always wanted to see a tribute to Crystar somewhere in Masters of the Universe. It's awesome that it happened in Brazil, and I would love to see some reprints of 80s comics, both in the United States, the UK, and apparently Brazil, because they were actually doing some pretty cool stuff. And I would have loved if this miniseries had been a story of Keldor as the Horde apprentice and just showing the Horde doing Horde stuff like invading that planet. But unfortunately, most of it is spent on the retcon. And by the time we get to the last half of the miniseries, it's just entirely about the retcon. It's entirely about rewriting Skeletor's memories. It doesn't help that they're working off one of my least favorite versions of Keldor's origin, where he's solely driven by his grievance and entitlement over being denied the throne of Eternia. But mostly my displeasure with the story here simply comes from the nature of it. I really do not like miniseries based around retconning the origins of a character where they find out their previous origin was all false memories. It never makes any sense, it's never fun to read, and it's always about as entertaining as watching toast burn. Since this miniseries does tease a season 3 for the animation, I just want to address that before I get to spoilers. And so For Eternia, which is a fantastic YouTube channel, did a long interview with Tim Sheridan, who's the writer for this, and he also did writing on the animation. And Sheridan indicated he didn't know if there was going to be a season 3. And he said the story may be continued in a season 3. It could be continued in a comic. It might not continue at all. None of that is particularly encouraging, but I just want you to keep in mind that probably all we would be getting is 5 more episodes of animation. And so whether that's announced now or later or never, the franchise is doing fine and will keep going regardless. All right, on the spoilers. So obviously I'm not very fond of retcon miniseries, so I'm going to try to keep the spoiler section of this short, so let's get started. So the only bit of fun that I had in that last half of the miniseries was that they did reveal that Skeletor's steed, Panther, was Keldor's pet from when he was a kid, so that was kind of cool. Next spoiler, it was Siren all along. So Skeletor's mom, Siren, it turned out was manipulating both Skeletor and Hordak the entire time. We really don't know anything about her other than she wants to rule the universe and she's using her son to do it. And that's it. She just really seems to be just a plot device to get the characters to do what the writers want them to do. And everything evolves around Hanknade Chosen One prophecies that I'm just sick of at this point. They kill her off in a very unceremonious way. She gets in a fight with Keldor and Hordak. Hordak blasts her, and she just disappears. And so I guess she's dead. There are these black word balloons with red text that talk to Skeletor after he has his memories wiped. But I'm assuming that's internal monologue. I don't think that's his mom talking to him. They did call her a Weaver of Shadows or a Shadow Weaver at various points in the story, but I'm assuming that's just name dropping. I honestly don't expect her to show up again. And so after they kill Skelly Mom, issue 3 ends with Hordak giving Keldor the Havoc Staff, even though neither of them have any idea how it works. And so it ends up melting Skeletor's face off, which I guess means that Keldor wins the Darwin Award for the issue. But of course, Skeletor somehow survives this, and they decide to reprogram his memories. I've read this miniseries twice. I'm still not quite sure why they decided to reprogram his memories and give him a false origin. And I'm not sure why these programmed memories actually make him more likely to betray Hordak. It just doesn't make any sense. But they really don't go into any specifics about how it worked. They leave everything super vague, and they leave it to the reader to do the mental gymnastics to make it make sense. But there are things here that no amount of mental somersaults are going to help. So, for instance, the false memories they gave him are of his origin that was in the second issue of the Revelation miniseries, where they thoroughly established that Hordak had told him Eternia was their end goal and what Eternia was. And after he gets his memories wiped in the last issue of this miniseries, he doesn't know what Eternia is. And no, it doesn't make me feel good that this miniseries is just here to write out what, in my opinion, was the best Masters of the Universe story I'd ever read, and also the most badass origin Skeletor had ever had, which ironically was written by the same writer, which just shows the difference in quality that can happen depending on the assignment and direction a writer is given. But as I said in previous reviews, I don't really care that much about that aspect of it because Skeletor has had many, many different origins, and in the future will have many more, and they can always reuse these ideas at some point for future versions of the character. I just tend to find retcons of previous origins to almost never make sense. There's always contradictions, and worst of all, they're almost never entertaining, with the exception of something like Alan Moore's Anatomy Lesson in Swamp Thing. But those are rare examples of comics that find a good story to kind of build around that retcon that they're doing. The story does address the baby stealing flashback we saw in Revolution, but it stops short of showing us that scene or anything that happens after it. It does say that it was tied in, of course, to a prophecy. There is an epilogue at the end where we do get to see Despara. Of course, she does not take off the mask. We just get yet another teaser that she might be Adora, and we do reveal that she is talking to the severed head of Motherboard, indicating that Motherboard is still with us. And of course, all this is just a teaser for a possible third season. All right, so next up for Masters of the Universe comics is Turtles of Grayskull, which ties into the Turtles of Grayskull toy line that's been crossing over Masters of the Universe with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the first issue will be shipping at the end of this month, or at least that's what it says on the solicitations. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. We'll find out if there's pizza on Eternia. We'll get to see Michelangelo cosplay as He-Man. It could be a good time, guys. Like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, good journey.